Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Sick of This show. And today I am welcomed by a special guest. So I'm Nick Paro, the host, as always, and I'm joined today by Cliff Schecter of Blue Amp Media, and who is the head of Non Both Sides Punditry, which I
Just
love.
wanted to give myself a fun title for once,
I love that. My
I could
friend
have just
Walter,
gone with complete asshole, but I thought this might be better.
too on the nose for the morning.
Yeah, it might
Uh,
be.
my friend Walter Ryan likes to be a level 36 wizard or magic user, so I get it.
Oh,
So be
I mean,
creative, have fun.
right? If honest with people, I somehow founded it, and I suppose I'm CEO, though I feel weird using that title because that seems like a you know
A
I
poison
have to
pill
like.
these days.
Well, it seems like if I use that title, I have to like then get divorced and have a second wedding in Venice and spend like $40 million and get fake breastplates and for myself and my
And
new
shoulder
spouse
plates, you have
and
to put in the
shoulder
shoulder
plates
pads,
and
like man, like somehow like tighten your back up and all that. Yeah, and
yeah,
the
and look at
chin
that
thing.
shit to your chin and get like those goggle glasses or whatever the fuck he was wearing, so I look like a James Bond villain, so like I kind of run the show with a lot of help from a lot of smart people who without whom it wouldn't go. How about that? But
That's amazing. So, Cliff, it's so good to see you again. For
good to see
those who
you, man.
don't know, I was on with Cliff Schecter and David Schuster last week on Amped Up. And I've been fortunate enough to get Cliff back this week for Sick of This show and cross streaming on Banner and Backbone, as well as on our Twitch and YouTube channels for both. So, if you're in the audience from anywhere, our primary audience is always Substack. You guys are the best community. Share, hit that heart, and hit the subscribe in the top left, that one, for
Yeah,
Cliff, myself, so that you can join us and be a part of this. There's so much I want to talk to you about. 'Cause
cool. And
you
I'll just say
are,
quickly, if I could just say 2 seconds, if you
yeah,
are on Twitch or YouTube, Cliff's Edge is the thing there. We're slowly rebranding everything to Blue Amp Media, but it's that. So you can find me in those spots too. We love our YouTubers and our Twitchers, if that's a word.
that's good.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know what to call the Twitchers or the folks on Twitch. I think Twitcher is fine.
that works. But I
If
think I
not,
cut you off and you were about to say something nice about me, so I should learn to shut up when you're going to
no,
compliment me.
I mean, I don't have to say things nice,
No, you
but
can
I
actually
can.
insult me the whole time, and I'm good with that too. I mean,
No, I've got better people to
I've been
insult.
on Fox News, so
Well, thinking of Fox News hosts, there is definitely one I would like to talk about today, and that's our
huh,
drunken Pete Kill Them All Hegseth,
right.
Secretary of Dumbassery, or wannabe
Backup weekend Fox News host for Fox and Friends, because
drunk
clearly
backup
he
weekend.
clearly he merited
Oh yeah,
running one of the world's largest probably organizations and more important ones because of all of the responsibility they gave him at Fox, and even with that little amount of responsibility, he found a way to impregnate a producer who was not his wife. While then his
hmm.
future third wife, while still with his second wife, which is maybe why his
Well, was
wife.
she married? Were
I think
they?
she was.
Were
I think she was married too. He was married. Adultery, if he really believes in the
Oh yeah,
Bible,
because
something
I
bad
mean,
should happen to him. I won't say
yeah,
it because then I'll get arrested for threatening him or something. But like if he believed in any of that Christian nationalist shit that he supposedly spouts and believed in what he would have happen to other people for committing that kind of an offense, it's also the kind of thing that people that don't really, as look kindly upon in the military. You can I think you are court-martialed for that, I believe, or maybe
adultery
I'm
is
wrong.
a crime.
Yes.
Adultery is a crime. Yes,
So there's all of that, even with that little responsibility. And then I also remember him saying at some point he hadn't washed his hands in 10 years. So apparently that was
that's
too
pretty
much
gross too.
responsibility. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. So today's show is all about I called a blue amplifier because you guys, I mean, obviously play on your your company's name and your media network of Blue Amp Media, but also in this idea of how we amplify our voices and our messages, and what you're doing to amplify that and help support others. Because I know people that you are supporting and helping.
Well, that was the reasoning. Just to say quickly, that was the reasoning behind the Blue Amp name. I mean, obviously not everybody would get it, and I like rock and roll a lot, and we tried to add some of those components to it, but it was Blue Amp amplify blue. That was the thought.
Yeah, and I'm glad you do, because that's something that we're desperately missing. And amplifying blue doesn't just mean amplifying blue politicians; it means amplifying blue voices. And so one of those voices, I want to talk about her a little bit, is Melissa Corrigan, and some of the reporting that she and I have been doing around Pete Hegseth. And I'd love to get your thoughts, just as a
Should I sit here and just say how brilliant and outstanding and awesome Melissa is? Because I could do that. Because
absolutely.
I feel so lucky to have her as a part of what we're doing. She's incredible. I mean, I've never been around, and this is no bullshit. I've never had a team where I looked around at everybody before, and I'm like, I think I'm the dumbest one here.
Melissa is so smart and so awesome.
I mean, that's it. Like, my rule on this stuff, and I can't, working with people, definitive rule. Guests, I try to live up to the rule too, which is I want smart people who are going to say interesting things, but I also like to have a rule that they're people that are the same on camera as off camera. Like, they're not faking it on camera and then they get off camera, and we all know people like that who are just not good people. And there are times when somebody breaks a big enough story or whatever, does something big enough that it's going to help the blue side. I have to have them on, even though I've dealt with them off camera and I'm maybe not a huge fan. But like 80 to 90% of the time, it's people that like I would love to talk to even if the camera were off. And so we tried our best to do that, and particularly with the people we work with, and like our little group calls and stuff are so much fun. Like it's just Melissa, David Schecter is just, not what anybody. I mean, we have so many people who are like starstruck, and they're just. I was when I first met David, 15, 20 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, I get to go on that guy's radio show. And then they realize
not to think about it.
It's the thing. And then you realize when you talk to him, like, he's not like that at all. He's literally like, he's the most modest guy. He doesn't, he's just, I mean, guy won an Emmy hosting for MSNBC, and he's like, he is who he is.
Intelligent masculinity, one might say.
Yeah, it's nice to have some of that out there, considering the amount of dumb fuckery we have among men out there. I'm sorry, most of the men watching this are good, but most of you who aren't watching this suck. So
one of those is Pete Hegseth. And so Melissa and I talk a lot about Pete Hegseth, and specifically what's going on in Venezuela, and how people are being treated or mistreated, or unknown statuses of people. Say the two unknown individuals who survived an October strike and then were extradited to their two countries. And we don't know anything about their statuses or have any reporting on how they were treated while we had them, or what any information around that is, which is a prior intelligence professional in the military. I was a human intelligence collector. That's super fucking illegal sounding.
I mean, again, what came out from the kill 'em all remark. So, I mean, I wrote a whole piece on this at our Substack, because I think the timing, right? I went and I saw Nuremberg, which I can't recommend enough. Like, is it perfect? Are there little parts that can drag a little bit? Are there whatever? Sure. Russell Crowe, just spellbinding as Goring. I'd say his best performance since Gladiator, and if he doesn't win an Academy Award, I'll be shocked. I mean, Rami Malek, amazing. Michael Shannon, amazing. I mean, just the entire cast is incredible in what they do. But like the point that I made in the piece I wrote was, here you look at, you want to put these two things side by side. The worst monsters we've ever encountered. Have there been worse monsters than the Nazis in history? Genghis Khan was pretty fucking bad. I mean, almost 1% of us can trace some DNA back to Genghis Khan, which should tell everybody something. 1% of this earth, something like that.
That's a lot.
So, right, which means I don't think he was seeking consent, let's say. I don't want
No,
to get into that any further because it's
nope.
horrific what they did. And there are other groups of people that, massacred, whatever. But in modern history, the Nazis obviously set a hell of a standard for evil. And here we had Robert Jackson, a Supreme Court justice. We had the Supreme Allied Commander, a guy by the name of Dwight D. Eisenhower. People probably heard of him. And the president, Harry S. Truman, and they all got together. Jackson leading the charge, but they agreed and said, would we love to take these guys outside and shoot them? Yes. And Goring was the big name, but they had Rudolf Hess too. He was a big name. A number of other big leaders, various leaders of the Nazis, 22 like upper echelon Nazis they had there among many others. And they're like, no, we're going to do, it's sort of like at that moment where we had the Declaration of Independence or the Emancipation Proclamation. They're like, there's no international law around this. We're going to create it. We're going to say that even the worst monsters there are, that if we believe in due process, if we believe in this system of justice, then we should live by it. And it will tell the world what they did, lay it out there, and make it clear that this is not going to be acceptable going forward. So there's Robert Jackson doing that with the worst monsters you can imagine. And then there's Pete Hegseth, who yells, kill them all, because he can't be bothered to fucking go back and pick up 2 people after his first likely, almost definitively illegal strike.
Yeah.
All my knowledge of, there's no war declared. Even under the War Powers Act, you have a limited period of time before you have to check in with Congress. Was it 60 to 90 days or something? They've not done that. We have no congressional approval. Obviously, there's no use of military force that's been voted on by Congress. A number of things they've done there have been declared already. Various things, his using signal for certain things or whatever, declared to be illegal by the or just downright fucking stupid by courts. And so, but yet,
so
again, Robert Jackson tries Nazis. Pete Hegseth blows up fishermen, and I'm going to call them that because until he shows me an iota of fucking proof that these people are actually running drugs in the United States, why would I believe a word he says? These people lie all the time. And then I'll say the second part, which is, even if they are running drugs in the United States, we tried Nazis. We can try drug smugglers.
Also, drug smuggling does not come with a penalty of death.
No,
that's not the penalty that we provide for drug smuggling.
And so
if they were, we are doing more than we should for punishment, which is a crime too. Like, over punishing is a crime.
It is.
Also,
and when you have people stranded at sea and you don't go back and get them, that's a direct violation of the Geneva Conventions. It's right there.
And one of the things, like, we talk a lot of, me, Melissa, all the folks at Shane Urich, others at Banner and Backbone, Lawrence Winterman, when he comes with us, Fred Pogue, the Center in America guys, we all talk about accountability. And, like, there's a difference, though, in accountability between a leaked signal chat and murdering 81 plus people. Because if we are not at a time of war, what Pete Hegseth would be doing, or in an armed conflict of any sort, what Pete Hegseth would be doing is authorizing the military to commit murder. Plain and simple. Like, they're murdering civilians.
And he's ordering people, obviously, and this is exactly the kinds of things that Mark Kelly and Elizabeth Slotkin and some of the others spoke about that of course got Trump so angry that he then threatened their lives and threatened he's trying to court-martial Mark Kelly. I mean, again, like, it's almost like he looked at the group and, not to say they're all not all incredibly impressive, but he's like, I want the one, I want the guy who is not only a veteran war hero, is not only do we have a pet or child situation?
And or both.
Both work for me. I like them both. I heard something there, and I was like, I remember those days of having my children come in the room and having pet, and I still, when I'm at home, the cats climb on me. So it's all.
I've actually got 3 dogs laying all around me in my office.
That's a different definition of heaven, actually.
Oh yeah, I love it. I have a shadow who he lays next to me all the time, and then I've got my other 2 who are in here hiding with me, and they're like, oh, So 3 puddles of love on my floor.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's why people, anybody out there who goes with you have to be a dog or a cat person. That's bullshit. I love them all
Yes.
furry animals. And, like if they wouldn't tear me apart, I'd have a raccoon, which are becoming more domesticated, apparently.
Raccoons are super cool.
They are.
I actually saw one at an Ace Hardware hanging on someone's shoulder like 2 days ago.
Yeah, they're being domesticated. I think that within however many years that they're going to see some pets.
They're domesticating themselves.
Yes, I should have said that. Yes, they are.
Right.
So I think they're getting ready to be pets. They're like, hey, those dogs and cats seem to have it pretty good. That seems like a good gig.
It's our
I'm tired
time.
of digging around for garbage. Why don't I get like some good stuff? In any case, I just wanted to say we have numerous cats. I could have a bunch of them climbing on me, and it doesn't mean I love dogs too. It's just that was the direction we went.
I'm highly allergic to cats, so I can't really have them.
Fair enough.
Which, that's the only downside. I had an asshole of a cat when I was growing up, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's some asshole cats, and even here and there a few asshole dogs if they're but they have
more asshole trainers.
They have much better percentages than humans, so that's the important thing. And seems to me opposable thumbs are overrated. Is what I would say.
I mean, dogs mooch off us pretty good. They don't have to get a job.
No,
they get free food, housing. Cats same.
But I don't think they'd bomb people on a boat in Venezuela. Because they're nicer, kinder. So I took us off track, and I apologize.
I love it. But I love tangents. But going back into where we were is like, so Melissa and I talk a lot about this, and a lot of the illegality that's going on, or that we feel is going on, and we can all clearly see with our eyes that is more than likely what is happening is there's murder at the high seas, or piracy, basically. Pete Hegseth is a pirate, and he has less honor than the most ruthless pirates in history, because we're not at war. So what else is he doing? He's using the Navy and blowing up ships in the water. What else have we called that in history? Is piracy.
No. It's piracy, and he's being it's classic, toxic masculinity bullying, because I'm the guy who's got the big bombs and everything. Woo, that makes you so tough, Pete. Why don't you meet one of these guys in the street somewhere and see what happens? My guess is you get your ass kicked. But I guess I shouldn't say that, because that's sort of toxic in and of itself. It's just that they think they're so tough when they have their big guns and their big bombs and their big whatever against everybody else. And it's like, you're not. You just have that. Like, Donald Trump can't walk on a golf course without passing out if he doesn't have a golf cart. Sorry, I'm not impressed that you can push a button.
Yeah,
we'll order somebody
Coke too.
Right, and actually, right, and that so that reminds me of when I went off on my goofy tangent where I was, which is as bad as anything else. And what Mark Kelly and those folks were doing is warning these guys, because we know that these orders are being given, like it was given to the commander there. I think it was the admiral, and resigned, go back, and these people are stranded. They didn't die in our first attack. Kill them all. Just blow them away. Don't go and pick them up, as is required by our Constitution, Geneva Conventions, probably numerous other things.
Duty law of war manual.
I say Uniform Code of Military Justice, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. But just commit murder. And we know from what has been said out loud by presidents of Ecuador and Colombia, where some of these citizens have returned, the fact that we did these things and they can't even find them necessarily guilty there.
Which should say a lot.
Yeah, I don't think they have what our due process standard is when we actually don't have a criminal government in our actual normal due process standard. I don't believe. Been to Ecuador. It's a beautiful country. Not saying anything negative. I would tell people to some of the places to go there. I had Rio Bamba. It's beautiful. But I would also tell people that I don't, I don't believe they have the kind of the due process we have built in on the same level. Anyhow, they have some clearly, and they couldn't find the guy. They're guilty. So it's ridiculous.
And on top of that, I'm doing a lot of research into this right now. I actually have an article coming out here in an hour after the show. I pushed it back for anyone on Banner and Backbone who saw my notice earlier or last night. I have an article coming out that was supposed to come out at noon Eastern. It's going to come out at 1 Eastern, because I wanted to add an additional section for very specific clarification on what the different statuses of people are for the military. So the article I'm doing is called Wounded and Unknown, and it's discussing the different statuses specifically around how we handle uh, un, unknown belligerents, or UBs, or unidentified belligerents or unidentified persons. They're the people who are in that legal gray zone between civilian and combatant.
What you're
Where
saying then, I mean, again, I don't mean to, but that's so it's
that's
bullshit.
for war. Yes.
But
If
we've
we are
made that
in a
up, right? Like,
armed,
there's no legal framework in our Constitution or international law that even respects that as a category. Am I wrong
actually,
about
well,
that? There are? Okay.
there are ways that it is, because it's in modern warfare. It's very hard to tell sometimes who
Of course.
a
Of course.
combatant is and who a civilian is. There is, and this is where it gets really important, is there's the presumption of citizen or civilian status. Like, that is the default presumption. We have built into the military a form of due process at the commander level and decision making level that allows the military to form a small decision making of, is this person a combatant or are they a civilian, with the presumption of innocence as a civilian, just like we have in our laws. Is
Right.
you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. In war, guilt is pretty much you're going to get killed. Is you're a combatant, they're going to try and kill you. But there's a legal gray zone when people don't wear uniforms of a state and they don't wear identity.
No, and I mean, yes, warfare has gotten a lot more, I mean, not to
Because
say,
we made it that way. We helped bring about the environment that made it so that warfare was more asymmetric and not straightforward.
well, whatever one's argument is on these issues, and I think there are varying arguments that can be acceptable. We did drop 2 atomic bombs, and
Yeah,
there are a lot of
we did do that.
civilians there who
Yes.
suffered. Not only were vaporized, but others that suffered greatly for generations after that. And so, I don't think the
We don't
key
have a
thing
good
is.
record.
I'm sorry.
We don't have a good record.
No, I think, look, I think we have a better record than most. I think we set in place principles that were astounding for the period in time and when we did, and then right away didn't follow a bunch of them. But the fact that we wrote them on paper, and even, I mean, again, like, I'm not letting anybody off on anything. I'm just saying that we always, I think, nuance and context are important in these conversations. And
Yeah.
even at that period in time, saying that all white men, not just white men of means, could vote, was a radical enough thing that, if I'm correct, I think only the Greek Republic had done that previously, and it was only Greek citizens. And the only way you could be a Greek citizen was if you were born in Greece. You could never become a citizen if you ended up there outside. So, I mean, there was, and these were people that were wealthy and didn't need to take that risk. And so I do always give them credit, while also pointing out some of them owned slaves and some of them did horrible things. And, we have to sort of reconcile all of that. I will just say that at least we put some principles into place that a lot of other countries base their constitutions on, based these things on. And, at times, at our highest moments, our best moments, not highest, because that's something different. And those moments can be fun too, by the way. And they're legal these days. Okay.
They are in a lot of places.
No, they are. If they're legal in Ohio, they got to be legal in most places, because we are backward ass.
Yeah, some places are pretty backwards. Like Missouri has legal, whereas Arkansas is only medical. Like you.
Well,
think
now we know what's wrong with
Arkansas-
Tom Cotton, because if he got high once in a while, he actually could smile. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a that prick.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's a we don't need to get into him.
We don't need to get into him.
I'm just saying there were moments, right? Like,
yes.
we've had the Palmer raids, which were 100 years ago, similar to now. We've had, we interned Japanese folks in camps. It was horrific, and not the types of camps the Nazis built. Let's be clear, there's a difference, but it doesn't matter.
There's a difference between a death camp and a concentration camp. Yes. At the same, like we interned and concentrated the Japanese. We did.
Correct. And there's no defense of taking people out of their homes, taking their, without their possessions.
Just like today, no defense of it.
Right. So I don't want anybody getting it wrong. And I'm just trying to point out, again, nuance and context. It's different. It's not Auschwitz or Bergen-Belsen. Okay. It's a different. So, but I'm just saying we failed along the way a lot of the time. But then there were moments like the Nuremberg trials, which never would have happened if we hadn't pushed for it. It was originally Robert Jackson had pushed for it, and then the British and the French agreed, and then the Russians, of course, under Stalin, felt kind of compelled to go along with it because, you know, and that was an amazing moment in American history. George Washington, you know, whatever his other foibles and there were, turning down a crown was an amazing moment in American history because we're never here. We don't have all this conversation going on if he accepted the crown. You can find plenty of others. There are moments we've lived up to it and plenty of moments we've failed. But the point is like we have this framework to do great things and treat people well. And we are failing on every level right now.
Yes.
Because we have horrible people who enjoy, I'd argue, failing on that level because they're just terrible human beings.
And they're anti-constitutionalists. And
correct.
So in all of this, one of the things we aren't doing is we're not framing it in right-wing terms. We're not framing it in right-wing media space terms. If people in the audience, there's someone saying in the audience that even if no parties admit to being at war, the conflict exists and falls under the force of number of international treaties. That's not how that works. We actually, in the U.S., we have to declare a war of some sort for us to recognize it as a lawful war.
After the war, I mean, and again, I'm asking you this. I'm not more than telling because I did believe it. Like before I got pulled into domestic politics, my background actually was international affairs and some State Department stuff and whatever. But my understanding is the War Powers Act, right? We have a certain, you still have to get a congressional declaration.
Correct.
And then I don't remember if it's 60, 90, however many days, and then you need to check in.
I think it's 60. I think it's up to 60 days. You have to check in with a hearing and congressional evidence and approval that these strikes were authorized, lawful. You have to prove the lawfulness because people are presumed civilian until otherwise. That's U.S. law. That is U.S. law. You are presumed innocent as a civilian. The military falls under U.S. law. They just added an extra layer in there that eases the burden from reasonable doubt in a U.S. civilian court to command and decision-making structure doubt of does it look, appear, act like there's a set of criteria that you have to meet to be categorized as a combatant. If you meet those, you can die in a war, but you have to be in a declared war.
Correct. Right. So,
or armed conflict that is lawfully authorized by the U.S. government to be protected by U.S. law. Pete Hegseth and this group have not done that, which is why we're talking about it this way. And though it's not a war or an armed conflict, we're just killing civilians because they have not proven to Congress otherwise. They have not proven to the American people otherwise. And the American people are the final arbiters on should we go to war of any sort. And if we say no loud enough, Congress then says no too. And that's our duty as civilians is to say no to shit like this because we're just murdering people at the high seas. So for the individual in the chat, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. I believe you're wrong. I think I do not care if international law claims that there might be. U.S. law states you have to prove it before I will accept it. And I'm not international. I'm talking U.S. law right now only. Internationally, if they want to try him for war crimes and things like that based on international laws, great. Do it. Go do that. But right now, I care about the U.S. and the Constitution and stopping anti-constitutionalists. So we're not going to frame it in their words of we're in a war or armed conflict of any way. And these are not combatants or narco-terrorists.
And the problem is everything sets precedent, and I don't mean to keep going back to Nuremberg, but that's why it was so important.
No, it's a great one.
They were trying to set a precedent for the future. And this, not only breaks that precedent, but the problem for me, and I will say this as somebody who was a fan overall and a lot of specifics of Barack Obama and his presidency, but I do have to be honest here. This is where it frustrated me at the time, and I think we're paying the price now of the not looking back aspect of it, because what we did, pre George W. Bush, I don't think this kind of shit flies. But after you come up with memos to justify torture and like, oh, it's just slight waterboarding, just a little bit. They were thirsty, the kind of thing that we actually talk about the Japanese held them responsible for after World War II, because
Oh
they
yeah.
waterboarded our soldiers, and we called that what it was, a war crime. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so I mean, when you can justify that, when you can justify again these sort of non-persons that are hanging out at Guantanamo,
Mhm.
that don't have any status of any sort. And again, I know, look, again, I always repeat these as sort of some of my most important words, nuance and context, which is, you don't have to say somebody, oh my God, they've never done anything good, or oh my God, they've only done good things. I can be happy for where, or not happy, but I can be, say it was a good thing where Dick Cheney ended up, which was endorsing Kamala Harris and those things, and still say he's one of the reasons we're here. He was
Mhm.
awful and horrible as vice president, and helped put in place, to me, the culture that has us sitting here dealing with this shit right now. Him
Yeah.
and Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz. I don't even know if Bush knew what the hell was going on, but he was the captain of the ship, so he's held responsible no matter what. And various of these other nefarious figures. I'm sure Karl Rove was involved, because everything was politics to him.
Yes.
Another precedent that helped carry forward into what Trump's doing now.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. That's why when we get past this, and I absolutely believe we will, if again, another sign when we overperform by 13 14 points in a blood red Tennessee district, where there's no infrastructure, there's nobody at the top of the ticket who's a Democrat to help turn people out,
Mhm.
none of these things, all these disadvantages. Well, like, if we win the kind of victory I'm hoping for, and have the kind of huge majorities and that kind of stuff, like I don't want to hear anybody give me this bullshit. And if I hear any Democrats say it, I swear of not looking back. The people who have done this must be held accountable. I always point to the example of, there are going to be some people that are going to flip, and those people will have to get much less sentences than they otherwise deserve. I mean, right now,
Just like a criminal in a criminal case, for
well,
someone
I
who
point out
flips.
Sammy the Bull Gravano murdered 21 people, assassinate 21 people, but he was the only guy they could get to flip on Gotti. So because of that, and they needed to put John Gotti away,
Mhm.
he of course, now of course he was a criminal, so he eventually committed another crime that he got put in prison for, because that was his nature. But you had to give him, protective custody. I don't remember if he had an ankle brace. I don't remember what they did. He didn't get away scot free, but 98% free compared to what he did. You think
Yeah.
about somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene right now. There's nobody in this chat, and nobody that it's not in this chat, that loathes her as much as I do. Or sorry, loathes her more than I do. You can loathe her as much. There's no space above. But if she was at the Willard Hotel when they were planning some of their 2020 shenanigans to overthrow our election, she must know all sorts of shit. And if she were willing to flip, so that, due to her, Trump, right? I mean, well, we've already held some of them accountable, so maybe we bring them back for a second ride. But all of the folks that surrounded Trump around the 20th, other members of Congress we know were there. Your Andy Biggses and Lauren Boeberts, other members of some of the senators that we know knew what was going on there. Ted Cruz, or had various knowledge. You don't know exactly what they all knew. It's all alleged, but we have pretty good confirmation that on who was at the Willard Hotel. And I'm sorry, I'm not accepting the George H.W. excuse from the Iran Contra. Like, I went out to take a pee when they were talking about it, so I don't remember it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
They knew what was happening. And so if she can bring those people, Kash Patel, who I still don't understand, except for the fact that he fucked everything up, why Merrick Garland, even once he'd fucked up enough and Trump was given immunity by Trump was given immunity by the Supreme Court. There's the speech and debate clause, that can protect some members of Congress. There still are things that can't protect them from, but there was no argument for Kash Patel
Yeah.
not being prosecuted. There was no
Yeah.
argument for Ginny Thomas not being prosecuted. These were people that had no legal protection, or in no even argument for immunity. So, I mean, these are the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene or someone of her ilk, if they were willing to
Could
flip,
reveal.
and a couple of them, we have to be willing to say, okay, because for the greater good, we need the biggest fish and some of the people that committed some of the worst crimes here, including now war crimes. I would argue we need them fucking going down, or
Yeah.
that's the only way we can be the democracy or the republic again. People are like, "There's no way we can get it back." There is a way we can get it back. It's that this is how
It's
you hold the
accountability.
people. Yes, it's accountability because that sets your culture going forward of what is acceptable and what is not. It gets people, we did this after Watergate, which wasn't nearly as bad, and we had a period, there where we passed a number of laws and people adhered to campaign finance laws for the most part after that and other things like that. Well, this needs to be that, but times like 100.
Yeah.
This is, we need to set in all new precedents, create whole new institutions that don't yet exist to make sure this shit never happens again, all sorts of things. And if we have to let a few people off to go after the vast majority of them, but it has to be clear that our government can never be used as a piggy bank again. We're not going to trust you to share your tax returns or follow the emoluments clause. There has to be ways of enforcing that beyond just Congress doing its job. We've learned quite plainly that you can get a Mike Johnson loser stooge who just stares up lovingly at Donald Trump and will do whatever is asked of them. Clearly we need more ways to hold people accountable. Trump fired the IGs within these departments, like the Defense Department, the Inspector Generals. Congress isn't doing its job. Supreme Court's been stuffed with a bunch of Opus Dei fucking freaks who just don't give a shit about the U.S. Constitution. In fact, they do. They want to undo it. And those can't be the only places where we have accountability. We have to find. One of my big arguments has been, and you'd need a hell of a lot of people to change this constitutionally, because obviously any constitutional amendment's a high bar, but there may be ways you can change certain things lesser that non-constitutionally, like, we decided to depoliticize the FBI and the CIA. Hasn't worked out perfectly, but has helped in certain cases, that they're going to have 10-year terms. We need to strengthen that the way he was able to just fire people. No, there has to be cause. You can't fire them because they're investigating you. And to me, we need to add the Attorney General to that, because Attorney General, you can't have the every other position. It's that you pick the Defense Secretary or the Secretary of State, and it's like, that's my Secretary of State who advises me on diplomacy. That's my Secretary of Defense. No, not fucking war, defense. That advises me on defense matters. But the Attorney General is wholly different. They're the people's attorney. You're not the president's attorney, as Trump has tried to claim. You need to investigate the president if that's necessary. Well, who's ever going to do that when this president appointed them? So my preference would be a wholly independent body that we put together appoints them. Or
I was going to ask you.
We have a separate national election for them. But that would take,
So my friend Shane Urich has an idea on this, and he and I have talked about it before, is basically an inspector general branch of the government, which is independently elected by the people, not by Congress, not by the president, not by SCOTUS, but by the people, because I'm tired of these people getting elected and then electing people that are going to protect them and not public interest. So the public should be able to speak, but also using some of the modern tools that we have, like AI, to be able to search for biases and political influence or religious influence in law and legal text, and just give like a score on it. Just saying, hey, this
agree,
has this bias level, and if it goes above this, we need to revisit it.
I agree with you. I'm still scared though that
AI
is going to become Skynet. That's my prediction.
But this is all under a human's decision.
No, I know. I'm just having.
No, I know.
We're so serious.
Jesus.
Anybody knows me knows I can't go too long being deadly serious without making a joke somewhere. And I was reading something yesterday, that our common friend Dana Dubois wrote about AI making up a fake human.
Oh yeah,
on her for her to meet with as a date, and the dude was completely fake, and she caught AI doing it. And I'm sorry, when AI is pulling that shit, and when people are telling it to shut down and it's refusing, I'm like, hey, the scientists just moved us a second closer to doomsday on the clock because of AI, because of the actual possibility they've said that it will become self-aware and decide that, humans are the enemy. And I'm like, we've seen this before. You
Yeah.
know, saw it, and you know, I don't need Terminators hunting us down, but okay, that's
I
a
don't
whole
need
nother.
Hal setting us off in a
Exactly.
spaceship. I don't need any of those bad decisions. We know what
No,
happens at the end of those.
the only Hal
Um,
I listen to is Hal Sparks. You know, Hal Sparks maybe would be my deity, and but that's it. That's the only Hal that I respect. No
fair.
computer elevator Hal. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, yeah. But like something like that where we can actually manage an inspector, like, and that's where, like, and then there's other great things that we could do with things like that, like simplify the bill making process again. So it goes back to Schoolhouse Rock style of here's what we're going to put in the legislation. It's simple, human readable, it's one idea, and then it
Yep.
goes to
And you know
get it
what else?
voted on, and it cannot get stopped by the party in power. Every bill that is like inspector general approved has a certain time stamp that says, okay, now that it's approved, it gets voted on by this date in the House and Senate,
Yep.
unless other changes are needed for some reason.
So yeah, I want to give you the other like big things too, because
Mm-hmm.
these are my obsessions. I mean, one, an independently elected AG, but your idea is just as good. I don't care. Somebody who's independently elected the way states do it, so you've got
Yeah.
a good chance the AG can be from a different party. It adds one more level of balancing power, so it's not making power more diffuse, so an executive does not have so much in their hands. But then every one of these dumb fuck, I'm sorry, whatever. I know you don't mind if I curse, but
No,
like
I don't mind at all.
I hope for people listening, it doesn't take away from the seriousness of what I'm saying. Yes, I'm a New Yorker originally. I curse a lot, but I'm being serious about this. Like the fucking filibuster is an accident of history. As if Aaron Burr didn't do enough by shooting Alexander Hamilton. He's the one who also said, "Oh well, we don't need to get rid of that piece of that part of the Constitution that ends debate and whatever." And then it accidentally was created and whatever. But in the end, it still states very clearly in our Constitution that the Senate is a majority controlled body. There's no parties in the Constitution. There's no
Mhm.
majority or minority leader. That's a construct we've created. What there
Yep.
is a presiding officer who's the vice president. And and that is a person who should be able to say when somebody tries to invoke a filibuster, sorry, that goes directly against the text of the Constitution that calls for a majority. It's illegal. It's gone. And if
Yeah.
Democrats had stood up and done that, during any of those, the Clinton, Obama, or Biden presidencies, maybe, certainly the Obama and Clinton ones, which were earlier on, maybe we're not here stuck with Donald Trump, because a lot of this was, when you look at the legislation that House got passed around 2006, 2008, then, in the Democratic House, I mean, climate change legislation and background checks on guns and minimum wage much higher than right now, and just all of these things, union protections. None of it could get through the Senate because we respected this made up rule that really had only been used in history before Mitch McConnell to block civil rights legislation, which should tell you something. And then
Yeah.
McConnell turned it into a regular requirement. People forget, the worst Supreme, it's hard to say who the worst one is. Maybe Alito tied with Thomas, but Clarence Thomas got on that court with 52 votes. You know why? Because we didn't require there was no filibuster back then in the late 80s where everything required 60 votes. Get rid of it. Have the vice president sit up and say it's bullshit. And for people to say, oh, well, we need it, Democrats need it. I'm going to tell you, not only if we lose that badly, that we need a filibuster, we're fucked up anyhow, and the majority deserve to be able to pass what the majority deserves to be able to pass, even if we hate it. But I would also tell you that it is so much worse for us than it is for them, because the simple fact of the matter is that all they ever want to do is get judges on the court, and the filibuster has now been eliminated for that, and get tax cuts and regulation cuts, which they can do through reconciliation. So
Yeah.
they don't need. So it just blocks all the shit we want to pass, right? So I mean, it's politically the smart thing to do, but also constitutionally. Another one I'll throw out quickly is the debt ceiling. Does not exist. We are required. It is in the Constitution that we must pay our past debts. That we sat
Mhm.
there and let these assholes hold us hostage and made any kind of compromise on what we believed in when we had the power because of the debt ceiling. When again, people would advise and just say Obama could declare it paid, which he could have, or could mint $1 trillion coin. There's so many ways around it, but that shouldn't have even been necessary. It should have just been like, sorry, what you guys are doing is unconstitutional. We have to pay our debts. We're paying them. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And you're not, and the final thing I'll say is, and go quickly because I know I've been filibustering myself
No,
here.
I love it. I love it.
But do you know when the last time was we added a justice to the Supreme Court? And if you don't know, it's okay, because 99.9999% will not know the answer to this. Do you know last time we added, so the number of justices we increased?
I wasn't it near like after Civil War reconciliation.
You are a smart motherfucker. It was 1869. We had 30 something million people in this country. We now have 13 times that, or whatever it is, right? 12 times that, 13 times. And so what I'm saying is, beyond the fact that they've politicized it and stolen seats, and I do hear people say, oh, we need to go to 13. Well, of course we do. But no, 13 isn't near enough. They reject over 99% of the cases that come in. They can't do their job. It's beyond just the political depoliticizing it. It's that they can't take most of the cases that come in. Like that court, we should add slowly until that court, I would say at the bare minimum, gets up to 21 justices, and they've got revolving groups of them that look at cases. So you can't predict who the justices are going to be. So try to politicize it. I dare you.
Almost like our normal courts system is, where it's a roulette wheel who gets chosen to be the judge.
And I would argue eventually getting up to 27 justices, because if you think about it, that's only 3 times as many as we had in 1869 when our country's grown by 12 or 13 times. You need at least that. So, I mean, that is what I would argue for. But I would say at the very least, anybody saying less than 17 or something like that isn't looking at the yes, it would depoliticize it. We accomplished one thing, and yet still most of a case law would end before the Supreme Court, and would ignore big issues because we wouldn't have enough people to look at it. Those are my those and the Attorney General thing are my big things, even though I've got plenty of others I could.
I was going to ask, like, one of my big questions is, and I started asking it this week to my friends, is we have 11 months to win our democracy, to actually win. We have 11 months until the 2026 elections are over, and we have to win in that time throughout every month for the next 11 months.
And assume during that time, after we know the Willard Hotel and Donald Trump, and we know what other stuff he's done. Assume that it's not going to be just the normal stealing a couple % of our vote, which they do routinely here in Ohio, Florida. The results always look worse in states controlled by Republicans for us, because in Tennessee, I'm sure there were some voters that wanted to vote for Afton Ben who probably largely, if they were black, had been disqualified from voting, and her total would have been
or the district was just so fucked up looking because of gerrymandering.
Well, that of course goes
part of Nashville isn't even in the district.
Right. That goes without saying anyhow. The gerrymandering is ridiculous, but I'm saying, like, they already cheat in elections.
Yes.
They have.
We have to win so overwhelmingly.
Right. So now I'm adding onto that, though, another level, not just the George W. Bush or the George, or the Reagan, George H.W., whatever level of cheating, which has gotten worse since the Shelby case in 2011 or so, and the Supreme Court overturned that, has gotten even worse. I'm talking about, like, the National Guard to me is, and you can, I'd love your opinion on this, is nothing but a test run to, if they're getting their asses handed to them badly enough in states controlled by red governors where Trump knows they won't stand up to them, going into blue cities where we may elect Democrats, like the one I'm in. I'm in a state that leans red, but I've got a Congressman, Greg Landsman, who's a friend of mine I love, who is a Democrat, going in and shutting down polling places in blue cities in red states, in St. Louis, in Nashville, in places, wherever the hell it is, so that they can stop us from winning Congress. Or a state like this that I will tell you right now, if people vote on 2026 the way they voted in this Tennessee district the other night, if they vote in Ohio that way, Sherrod Brown wins walking away. I think Sherrod Brown's going to win anyhow. He overperformed Kamala Harris by 8 points and only lost by 3 when Trump was popular, and when Trump, or at least here, popular enough and on the ballot. He's not going to be on the ballot. He's the most unpopular president ever, and Sherrod Brown's an amazing candidate. If we do what we did the other night, Sherrod Brown might win by 7 or 8 points. I mean, it might be that level of a Sherrod Brown win. Well, what do you think they're going to do if they think we're going to get a majority in the Senate or the House? They could send in the National Guard, for example, here in Ohio, to the 3 Cs, as we call them, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, where a lot of our vote comes from, and try to shut it down. We need a legal team prepared for that. We need other people willing to go out in the streets and shut shit down, not violently, non-violently, civil disobedience, block them wherever you are, sit in the streets, do whatever you need to do, but we need to be ready for that. And because I'm tired of trusting that the DNC will be ready when they never fucking seem ready. So
I'm just going to put this out there, is there's a constitutional guarantee for a well-regulated militia. It does not require bearing arms to have a well-regulated militia.
Great point.
So
Great point.
let's just put that out there.
No.
We have been taught, because they do it on the right all the time. The Proud Boys are a regulated militia. They have rules and laws and regulations. They got into what they did. They are a international terrorist organization because they operate in Canada. So we can claim them as a terrorist organization because they terrorize outside the U.S.
And we could call, I think you could call them domestic terrorists anyhow.
But I think,
because when you're part of an attack on the Capitol on January 6th, I think,
you're a terrorist.
That pretty much settles it.
Yeah. And like Melissa has been saying in the chat, our good friend Melissa
Corrigan, hey, Melissa,
is we have to win the narrative. And part of winning the narrative is defining what words mean and how we use them and how we relentlessly talk about them, and we stay on our own messaging. Like,
so you know how obsessed I am with this. I mean, the only thing I got up and gave a lecture when I was in grad school on a topic I knew really well and was asked by the professor, which was kind of an honor for me at that time, on the Powell memo. And I would say to everybody in this chat here, if you don't know what the Powell memo is, right when this is done, look it up. It was the blueprint for how the right built up their infrastructure to control the narrative. And as Melissa is saying, this is, again, for those of us, the marketing aspect of the Democratic Party is fucking mind-boggling. There's exceptions. Jasmine Crockett, amazing. Chris Murphy, amazing. But our leadership, and I sit there and I'm like, this is like marketing 101. You have a narrative. Underneath your narrative, you have a couple of key emotional, strong messages that tie into pop culture, that tie into history, that tie into things that move people. Below that, you have the policies you want to enact and the things that infuse your values, which is what creates the overall narrative. But if you're just saying overall, like, hey, not enough people have healthcare, and you're not saying why, who's responsible, what you're going to do to change that, and giving it an emotionally evocative language and connecting it to something people can understand, you're fucking failing. You're not giving people what they need. So that is what drives me nuts, and I don't get it. This thing that, I want to like Hakeem Jeffries. I swear I want to. But this thing that he just put out, well, I gave up on Chuck Schumer a while ago, and I'm 90% there with Hakeem Jeffries. He does something decent here and there and wins me back, and then loses me right again. This message the other day, strong floor, no ceiling. Did you see this shit?
No, I didn't watch.
If you saw, no, I didn't watch anything either. I read it.
I didn't read it.
This was his new message. I'm like, are we building a fucking house? Like, is this a message for how to stop the bed bugs in Mar-a-Lago? I don't know what this is, but it's not a message that resonates in any way and explains any goddamn thing to anybody who wants to vote for Democrats. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I want to put this one out there because we're right at the top of the hour, and I want to respect your time today too, in all of this. But I want to get your thoughts on this.
If you need a few more minutes, I'm good for at least 5 or 10. I mean, I have to go. So, but if you need to go, kick me off.
No, I don't need to go. I really want your opinion on this one because I talked about it with some folks in our Banner and Backbone weekly show. It's basically a 12-step plan or a 12-month plan. It's our AA that we need for democracy. And I think people can resonate with that.
Now, you see, you're right away, you're tying into something that people understand. But I'll say quickly, right away, you're tying into something that people understand, AA. They know what that means overall, that it's an intervention of sorts. It's a way to help yourself, a way to make yourself whole and healthy again, and fight your own demons, in this case other demons, and you've got things that the 2 A's stand for. So that is what I would call, because it's understandable, it's simple, it's straightforward, and ties into something cultural that we get. That's good fucking messaging. Please, why not maybe let Nick, instead of fucking Hakeem Jeffries, come up with it next time?
Hey, I mean, Democratic Party, if y'all want to fucking pay me, I'm glad to take money. Like, please send me some money for what I'm doing. The Republicans do it for their people all the time. Like, make an apparatus to help left-leaning, blue amplifying platforms like Bluent Media, like Banner and Backbone, like Sick of This Shit publications.
Yes.
And so another one. So AA is our affordability and accountability, or authenticity and accountability, or we can just do AAA on it. Like, everybody knows AAA. People will
get too. Now, can I give you one that's on the negative side that hits Republicans? and again, it's not technically the three C's, but if you're a writer and you get alliteration, you get that it's close enough because people will hear the strong C in there.
Yeah.
Here's how you describe the Trump administration. Simply, any of them: cruelty, corruption, and incompetence. It's like it goes right forward. It's essentially, I know incompetence, but you hear the C is a strong C in there, and that is a summary. If you were just to say what explains what they've done: cruelty, corruption, and incompetence. It's simple, it's straightforward, and everybody can think to themselves, yeah, think about their policies. What fits under the cruelty part of it? What fits under the corruption part of it? What fits under the incompetence? And plenty fits under all of it.
Yeah.
Or two of the three. So, these are the kinds of things. And again, I'm not saying it's perfect. Anybody else comes up with anything better. I have no pride. I have no pride in authorship. I don't care. But let's come up with something memorable that has nothing to do with a fucking floor and no ceiling. All right. Yeah.
Or even let's start, instead of calling them conservatives, I call them regressives.
I like that.
That's what they are. They regress. They want to regress our population, and I want to progress our population, which is why I'm a progressive.
And that's the best way to do it. Is if you put them
the alternative
side by side.
Of conservative.
Right. You say we're progressives, they're regressives. It works really well. And I see somebody in the chat here, Hope Crescione. I hope I'm getting that right. I've thought about that, which you said criminal as the third C. I thought of that one too, or I thought of even doing like a 4. But you could you could just say cruelty, corruption, and criminality, or something like that.
Well, that would be cool because then C4.
Cruelty, corruption, criminality, and incompetence. C4.
Yeah.
See? Dude, you're on this shit.
I love words. So, I'm a trained interrogator. I went to school for music theory and composition. So I have a degree in that, and I love creativity. I write poetry. I like describing things. That's my thing. I like connecting people, and I like being able to use the right words when they mean things and how they mean things.
So that's how I am. We're gonna have to geek out at some point because I'm the one who sits there, and if the word isn't perfect for the metaphor or whatever I'm saying in my piece, that was what my grad degree is, and was international affairs, but writing and communications. I thought I was gonna be an international journalist, and all I do is whenever I sit around and I've got ideas and need to do something, I sit and I write songs or I write poems or I I love all of that. So we'll have to geek out on that stuff because it's
absolutely.
Writing is my words are kind of an obsession. So
awesome. I'll send you over. I'll link some of the poetry that I've written that might be related to some of this messaging in here in our post show notes. And I'd love to have some more conversations with you around things like this. And one of the things I know you know Lawrence Winterman really well is when we founded Banner and Backbone together.
Lawrence kicks my ass into making sure that I get done what I need to get done because Lawrence is the COO of Blue Ant Media, and honestly, we wouldn't be what we are.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not just saying it to say it. We wouldn't be what we are without him because I may have some good words and I may be okay on camera, but I'm ADD and I can't keep my sock drawer organized, much less, everything we've got going on. So, it's, it's.
And so one of the things Lawrence and I came up with early though in Banner and Backbone was our acronym RISE. And I want to see what your thoughts are on it. It originally is Restore Integrity, Service, and Ethics. But I think it needs to be maybe something more powerful than restore, because restoring means going back to.
Right.
And maybe reinvigorate, revitalize, reignite.
So can I say one thing quickly? I have to say one thing quickly because just to hope again, I appreciate what you're saying there. And you don't know the shit that I would take because part of my wife's family is Sicilian. We've been back to Italy more. I've been there except for France where I lived more than anywhere else. And my son now, my younger son is taking Italian, wants to live over there, all this sort of stuff. So they make fun of me all the time when I get in it, and I've spent enough time there that I should get those pronunciations right. So my apologies. I will work on the Sione. But in any case, now Nick, tell me again, and I'll get it. I couldn't fuck it. If I fucked up in any other language except for French, which I speak, I could have let it go. But fucking up Italian, it leads my.
No, I get that.
I can't do that to my family.
No, I
okay,
get that.
Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
we have an acronym RISE, which is currently Restore Integrity, Service, and Ethics. But restore we don't want to restore. I don't want to go back to what we had. I
Yes.
want to look at the framework that we have, and I want to make it better, because the Constitution is amendable for a reason, so it gets better, so we make a more perfect union. What do you think about a stronger word in there, like reignite, revitalize, or
Yeah, because
restore?
I do think, because the problem with restore is, I think what a lot of us are saying is, I don't think my politics have changed that much, that I've moved that much to the left. I think our country has gone so fucking nuts since the Trump years that it makes me seem like I'm further to the left. And so what I realize now is, and I say that for a reason, pre-Trump, I think that the system was reformable. After Trump, if Democrats had had the courage to do it, like get rid of the filibuster, that kind of stuff. At this
Yeah,
point, so much has been so corrupted and messed up that I don't want to restore. It's like what I said about Nuremberg. It's like what FDR did with the New Deal. It's like what we did and then failed to enforce after with Reconstruction. We need a whole new system of laws, regulations, norms, culture, just whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't want restore. Reinvent is an interesting one. I wouldn't want to, it's like reinvigorate. I kind of like, but I think that might be too long. And frankly, we have to remind ourselves that not everybody is on, reads constantly and may not understand that, and we need to reach low information voters.
we're seeing a
Um,
lot of people say reform.
Reform, I like I like also, except for reform is good, but I don't know if it's strong enough.
Yeah,
Um, you
and I want
know,
something strong, and I like simple things like MAGA is catchy. They did it for a reason, because it sounds like mega. It's easy to say. Like
right.
we need simple. We need to bring our language to the same that other people speak, which isn't dumb. People are not dumb. None of this conversation has been dumbed down. We just speak it in a way that is easy to understand and consumable. At least I hope. And that's what I like reimagine.
Reimagine is good. Well, yeah, and that might be it.
That might be it. Lawrence is good with words, so
I was going to say
I-
ratify, but that is too many people would not understand what that. Again, like I'm not talking about folks here, and I'm not talking disrespectfully about anybody. I'm just saying that we have to reach people where they are, and not everybody who's had to work 14 jobs just to get by under a ridiculously shitty system has had the time to get the education they would like to get. Reimagine's a good one.
I'll
But
keep
I don't
working
know.
on it.
I
But
will
that one,
too. I mean, I think there's, I think Reimagine's good. What was the one I said before? Was it Revitalize or something of that
yeah,
nature?
there's been a reaffirm, but I think that's like, why do I want to reaffirm something that's broken? Like
Right.
the system is broken. The system is broken that we have, and we need to fix it. I think reimagine, at
How
least
about
right
just
now,
how about we just go with Rage? I'm just kidding.
rage.
I'm not being serious. It would be
Oh,
like Rage Against
reclaim.
the Machine. Like
I
no,
mean, reclaim is a great one, or remake. Reclaim might be a good one, because
I like Reclaim a lot.
it's got a hard consonant in there that stands out, and people like to say things like that.
What
Uh,
are give me the other words again?
integrity, service, and ethics.
Integrity, service, and ethics. Okay.
So it's got to be something about like rebuild, like it's about creating new, and but I don't want to recreate the Constitution. I don't want to reboot the system.
Right.
I want to reclaim or realize the dream of the integrity, service, and ethics. But it's about what we need to do as individuals. It's like Lawrence's um, idea of a citizen's oath. It's about
Right.
taking responsibility, and I want things that people grab onto and go, ooh, I want to do that. That's what
Right.
I want to be a part of. So I want to leave us on that, maybe.
No,
We
I
think
mean, I've
about
got a
some of
bunch
this.
that are popping around my head, but I don't, I've said a few of them. I don't feel like any of them are perfect. So I want I mean, this I want perfect. So I'm going to think about it a little bit because,
Awesome.
you know,
And
there's, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go. Please finish your thought before we.
No, I know that we've run late, and I was gonna thank you for your willingness to talk to me longer than
Yeah.
you
And
had to.
it's not a have to, it's a want to. This was fun. I really appreciate getting to talk to you, Cliff. And as
Me
part
too,
of all
man.
my shows, I like to do an amplification for the people who are on here because that's what it's about. It's about community over competition. And I'm not competing with Blue Amp Media. I want them to thrive. Like a lot of the friends that I have on Substack now work and support Blue Amp Media, and that's amazing. And
Well, let me just say also, we should all be in this together,
yeah,
and it doesn't mean we live in what we live in the world we live in. Yes, everybody needs to make a living, and you should be pushing your stuff because especially if this is the way you make a living, you need to do that and push your own stuff and try to support others too is what I would say. It's just when certain, and I'm not going to say anybody specific or anything. I don't feel
yeah,
like ending that way. But when certain aspects of, sorry, somebody just hit me up with something. When certain aspects of independent media start looking like corporate media, start looking like they're a machine, start looking like they're all about profit, you're doing it wrong. This is what I would say. You want a
yeah,
professional. Certain things need to be professional. A professional look, hopefully, and what you professional, like your knowledge base and these kinds of things. But when you start when it's just a media organization and it's like, how can we just, that profit margin's too low? And I mean, then what are you doing this for?
yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, that's the way I see it. So,
Yeah, and
um,
I mean, you guys amplify. I know you have the creator fund and you give
mhm.
back to other creators. And I love that because you support, you collaborate. It's community over competition and you're
Yep.
building people up. And so go support Cliff and Blue Amp Media and however you can, free or paid for them. I am a huge fan of the work they're doing. I also have a lot of friends there. So it's easy to be a fan of the work they're doing. And I think it's great. I think you guys deserve all the growth that you've been having, and I appreciate everything that you've been putting out. It's helped fuel some of the new content for me to be able to go out and say, I need to say these things and put information out.
Well,
And
thank
so,
you for that, and thank you for everything. Again, I can pay the same compliment. I think when folks with your background in military intelligence, in these areas who have credibility come and speak out against what these guys are doing in very plain terms, spoken terms, and not bullshit, highfalutin stuff where people are like, what are they saying in the end? But just put it
mhm,
plainly about what these guys are doing, laws they're breaking, right?
yep,
Treason they're committing, and I know that you may
yes.
not use that word. I don't
Oh,
know
I
if you
do.
do, because I know that I know in the military there's a high bar for actually, but I don't know. I think
Proof
planning
of,
an insurrection against your own country and bowing to Vladimir Putin and certain other things probably qualify.
yeah,
So, um,
yep,
just the fact that you're out there, folks like you who are out there and speaking out, I think that is so important. So, thank you for
appreciate
that.
that. Yeah, I appreciate that. And so go support Blue Amp Media. Come support me at Banner
Support
and
this guy
Backbone
too. Yep.
with our media network. Lawrence and I are building an incredible community machine. And because of the community that's around us. And then come support me here at Sick of This Shit Publications. However you can. Just the biggest piece of support is amplify our voices by sharing, liking, restacking, forwarding emails, sending this into your text chains, your group chats, things like that. Do all of the easy things to send these things forward when they come back out. So
There you
thank you,
go.
Cliff, for being with
Thanks,
us
man. I really
today.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's been
I appreciate the extra time and the incredible conversation. Thank you to everyone in the audience who's been with us. We have over almost 600 people in our audience here in
all right.
Substack. Thank you all for being here. Before we go, hit that subscribe in the top left corner. Everyone become a free subscriber with everyone on board. Thank you so much. This has been really fun. I look forward to talking to you again, Cliff. Um,
Absolutely.
and as I say at the end of all of my shows, so let's stop being sick of this shit. Now we're going to start doing this shit. So have a great day,
Excellent.
y'all, and I'll see you soon.